You're listening to The Daily Show.
The Daily Show?
The Daily Show.
The Daily Show.
On Men's Radio.
Men's Radio.
Men's Radio.
Men's Radio.
With Russ Kane.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, would appear to be me. Sorry about my voice. I've been fighting this cold for a couple of days, and hopefully it'll go away. I'm sure it's nothing worse. Greetings and salutations, everybody. I'm Russ Kane. This is The Daily Show. You're listening and tuned in to Men's Radio Station. You know him. You love him. It wouldn't be a Monday or a Wednesday without him. The king of the New Malden area. Before we bring on our very first guest, please give it up for Mr. Neil Long.
Hello, and I can see our guest waiting in the green room. Hello, Sue. We'll come to you in just a moment. Good afternoon. I've got something amazing to tell you, right?
Okie dokie.
I go on this call every Monday night, and it's kind of for anyone that studies a bit of metaphysics, law of attraction, and I love it because it's like a group thing, and I see people literally have breakthroughs on Zoom, facilitated by this incredible guy that I'd like to get on here, a guy called Nick Rowe. Anyway, you see like years come off people. It's really quite. But anyway, last night I had a sort of private meeting with one of his facilitators because he had staff, and I ended up in the present moment. You know, all this talk about mindfulness and the present moment and the now and all that. And I'm thinking, wow, when I get there, it's going to be bells and whistles and angels and the whole universe is getting open. And I arrived there and I'm like, oh.
Was it like Weatherspoons?
Is that it? Not in a disappointed way. It's just, no, it's nothing like Weatherspoons, I can assure you.
When you get to the present moment, the toilet doesn't take you 20 minutes to find.
No, it was nothing like Weatherspoons, not an ankle tag in sight. It was just like, but it was not in a disappointed way, but it was kind of like, it was so simple. I was just like, oh.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do.
And it's literally been right in front of my nose all the time. Just saying.
No, that's your face. Let's chat to our...
My face has been in front of my nose.
Your face has been... What the hell I'm talking.
That would be weird.
Now, listen, I'd like to talk to our first guest. This is a subject. It was put to me and I thought, you know what? This is damn important because we don't think about it until you need it. Resuscitation. It's nothing you think about on a daily basis. And then, oh my God, I don't know what to do. This lady.
No, not at all.
Please, well.
I'm reminded of that advert with Vinnie Jones.
Oh, yes.
And it was how to do the heart. And it was done to it was the tempo of staying alive. It's what you do. You press the heart.
God. No, well, if I had the Bee Gees running in my head, I'd have to let them die. Hello, Sue Hampshire, the Director of Clinical and Service Development, Resuscitation Council UK. You must have the world's biggest business card. I mean,
and I've never ever met anyone, Sue. I mean, I've had a couple of days of absolute firsts. I found the present moment, and it was really easy. And now I'm talking to someone from a resuscitation council, and I've never met that before ever. Hello.
Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say now.
Good afternoon to you. Now, tell us all about what you do and about resuscitation and what we should be learning.
What we're particularly interested in sharing with everybody today is our campaign around baby child CPR resuscitation. So we have published a small book called Aaron's Heart, which gives you information on what to do should a baby or child have a cardiac arrest. And it also gives you some simple pointers as to what to do in emergency. I should say that it's a rare event. It's not common, so I don't want to scare anybody. But forewarned is forearmed, I think is the phrase. So as much information that we can get out there, the better.
And is this just for babies, or is this general?
The Resuscitation Council UK is responsible for resuscitation practice across all ages in the UK. So from babies to the older person. But the campaign at the moment is specifically around babies and children. But it's obviously equally important to be aware of when an adult has a cardiac arrest and to take action then too.
Absolutely. Now, is this to do with, and forgive my ignorance, Sue, is this to do with having defibrillators everywhere, or is this to do with what you actually have to do as a person when someone's going in front of you?
It's more a general campaign.
Okay.
The cause of a child's cardiac arrest is not usually due to heart problems in the same way as it would be in adults. But certainly having AEDs out there is great for public awareness and to use in the case of cardiac arrest. But with children, we know that we've got summer holidays coming up, we've got lots of family activities, lots of community activities, and we want to raise awareness through Aaron's Heart of simple measures that can be taken should this horrendous situation happen to you.
Absolutely. It's a very, very good idea, I have to say. Extremely good idea. So what should one do, I guess, is the $1 million question.
I mean, how do you know, first of all, heart attack?
Oh, good question.
Again, it's slightly different to a heart attack. What we're talking about is a cardiac arrest where the breathing and heartbeat has stopped completely. It tends to be adults that have heart attacks.
Right, so what's the difference between the two, first of all, Sue?
Brilliant. Okay, so a heart attack is something that we probably
So I can only apologise. There is a slight delay. I don't mean to talk over you, and it must sound like I'm doing exactly that and interrupting you. I promise you I'm not, but I've got about a 4-second delay, so I'll try and keep mindful of that. So I'll just ask the question again. What's the difference between a cardiac arrest and a heart attack? And then how do you know to identify which it is and what to do about it in the situation?
Okay, so a heart attack, we probably all got some experience of, and it usually happens in adults, and it's where there are blockages to the blood vessels that supply the heart with blood, and you get pain, you get sweaty, you feel dizzy, you feel sick, and it really is an overarching pain that often goes down into the arm. You may not collapse. So the important thing is to get to hospital, call an ambulance, get to hospital where you can be treated. Now, a cardiac arrest is the absolute emergency because you've stopped breathing and the heart has stopped. So you have collapsed. There's no signs of life, and we need somebody to do CPR to give you any chance of surviving.
Right.
I didn't know those were the two different things. So first of all, both Neil and I suspect our listeners all over the world are feeling the same thing, going, ooh, didn't know that. Okay. So heaven forbid, we're in a room and somebody collapses, they're not breathing, the heart stopped, and then what the heck, apart from panic, what the heck do we do? Because I panic, to be honest with you.
It's a stressful situation, and I'm not going to deny that. If I can bring us back to our campaign around children today, if I may, what I would like people to do is just to make sure the situation is safe, because one of the causes of cardiac arrest in children is a medical illness. But of course, you've got things like drowning and accidents. So we would ask that any rescuer makes sure they're safe. Then to just make sure that the person isn't responding to you. So tap them, talk to them. And if they're not responding, check to see if they're breathing, and then get your mobile out and put it on speakerphone to dial 999 for the ambulance. Because once you do that, you will get support from the ambulance dispatch person to carry on with the actions you need to take. We want you to do some initial rescue breaths on children. That's 5 rescue breaths. And then we want you to start chest compressions.
And help us out, Sue, because assume that Neil and I know nothing. You'll never go wrong assuming that, by the way. What is a rescue breath? Is it like the movies where you're holding their nose and breathing into their mouth? Is that it?
Yes, in essence it is. With babies, we just like you to lift the chin a little bit so that the airway is open. We call it a neutral position. Then we get the rescuer to cover the baby's mouth and nose with your own mouth, and then breathe very gently into the baby, just enough to see the chest rise, and then let it fall again. With children, we say pinch the nose and cover the mouth, and then do exactly the same, breathe gently into them. So, and again, if I take it up to adults, it's pinch the nose and breathe into them.
And how many rescue breaths should you do before you start the next stage?
Okay. In children, babies and children, we like you to do 5 initially, because that gives the baby or the child the oxygen that they desperately need. Then we do 30 chest compressions, and then we continue at a rate of 2 breaths and 30 chest compressions.
If it's not a silly question, when you do this takes me back to when I did a course in this at school. It was
First aid,
life-saving, that was it.
Life-saving.
And they teach you the mouth-to-mouth thing, and everyone goes, "Ew, mouth-to-mouth" at school. But, we're not children anymore. But when you do it, you create a closed seal. It literally is. You create a vacuum, do you, as you do it?
Yes, that's what you're doing. You're putting your own breath into the person who's had the cardiac arrest.
Okay, and the heart compressions, that advert with Vinnie Jones, was that accurate to the tempo of staying alive?
Yes, the Vinnie Jones advert was great, and we loved it.
I liked it.
It was very good.
Yeah.
And how much, because again, I mean, I only know this through movies when I get a load of my life and they go, "Hey, sorry, yeah, my chest, I may have cracked a couple of ribs." They always do that. How hard are you, because I don't know, Neil doesn't know, how hard are you meant to press down?
Yeah, exactly.
What are we meant to do?
Okay.
And can you overinflate? Can you do too much?
If they float around the room, yeah.
Let's take both of those separately. What we're looking for in babies and children is just a very, very small rise of the chest. So you're not really over breathing, and just remember they're much smaller than you are. Obviously with adults it's a little bit more. If we talk about chest compressions, we're looking at about a third of the depth of the chest, so around 4 centimeters in a baby and 5 in a child. So you're looking for a reasonable depth, so you're pressing quite firmly.
Okay.
So I'm going to pop this up on the screen. Could you just summarize those instructions? I'm kind of typing it as you go along, and I can't do shorthand, so bear with me. I'm just going to put it on the screen because it's important stuff. So from the beginning, if we suspect someone is having a cardiac arrest as opposed to a heart attack, and we now know the difference, what do you do?
Okay, just before you start typing, and to give you a little bit of time, if people want more information, if they go to our website, which is resus.org.uk, they can order up a copy of the booklet, which tells you exactly.
Resus, is that RESUS? I'm guessing here.
Resus, what is it?
.org.uk.
Okay, well, let's pop that on the screen.
Is this privately funded? How is this funded? Is this privately funded?
We're
the
a
government?
charity.
Oh, you're a charity.
We are a charity, yes.
I thought you were some branch of the NHS. I thought, well done, but even more well done for you being a charity. Excellent stuff. All right, so I think save Neil, having his hands flying around like whatever it is. www, if you're listening to this on a podcast or whatever, www.resus, which is resus.org.uk.
And you can get a pamphlet sent out by email, I presume?
No, you can get one posted to you. It's a little book that's been printed, and you can have one posted to you. It's a very simple book in that there's lots of colour, lots of pictures, and short text, so that we're really just giving you the main messages. And there's also a link to a video which shows you the steps of both baby and child CPR. And again, share it with friends. Just go onto the website, and it's the front page of the website. And when you click through, you go to a page that's specifically about baby-child resus. So there's lots of information there, more than just the booklet. You can
we ask
learn.
you,
and literally, this simple knowledge, this is the whole point of this conversation, could save a life.
Could save a life.
Sue, can I ask you a question? It's coming in from Scott Lyons up in Wolverhampton. Sue, should you be worried about damaging the casualty, e.g. breaking ribs or bruising their skin, or should we be assured that it is warranted in the scope of the preservation of life? Excellent question.
Good question.
It's a very good question, and it's one that we get asked a lot, and it's one that everybody worries about.
Yeah.
The thing to remember is that whatever size of person you're dealing with, baby, child or adult, their breathing has stopped and their heart has stopped. There is nothing worse. So unless we do something, they have no chance of survival.
So I suppose the risk of a broken rib is a kind of small price.
It's
if
small.
It's like losing your life or a broken rib,
Yes.
it's not ideal, but
take the broken rib. It ain't great, but it's better.
It's an easy choice.
Sue, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck with the charity. I think you're doing an amazing job. I'm going to say one thing while you're here, so you know we're not completely silly. If you go to the website and they send you the leaflet, don't wait to start reading the leaflet when someone's lying lifeless in your kitchen floor. Read it first.
Yes.
That would be
Yeah,
my
well, I
clue.
just want to
That'd
leave
be
it
my
somewhere. Give me
advice of
5
the
minutes
day.
while I find it. Yeah.
Right. Sue, thank you so much. I know you're
Sue,
busy.
before you go, I love that clock in the background. That is lovely.
Thank you.
It is good, but I'm very worried that an alien, if you've seen the Alien movies, is going to come out of that air duct. That's what I'm scared of. That's what I'm scared of. Sue, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. And thanks for
Thank
the
you
work
for
that you do.
talking to us.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care. The clock's wrong, by the way.
What a charming lady. Absolutely charming. Where was I? Oh, no, I don't like that particularly. Right.
No, I don't like that. That's
no,
better.
I like that. That's a bit better. That's a little scary. Right. Should we go through and say hello to everybody? Azadon Brown. We'll do it alternately. Azadon Brown. Good day from Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Okay. Scary Liz says, hello all.
Dave Sleet, the wonderful Dave Sleet. I don't know if you're still in London, Mr. Sleet. Greetings, one and all. Right, let's get back to you and your revelation here. Good afternoon to David Green. Good afternoon.
Oh, my present moment.
And what is this? The J.R. Nelson. I don't know who that is.
I don't know what that means.
Who's J.R.? I have no idea who that is. Robert Van Buren. Hello, Russ and Neil. Oh, this is a class. This is a classic. I love it when we have running stories on the Daily Show. Now, Julie Voice, formerly of Houston, now of Guildford, and permanent Uber driver to her mother and the Bowls Club, says this. Do you remember she put up a message on Monday? I think it was Monday or may have been last week, that she's got an audiology appointment on the phone. You couldn't make this up. It's worse than the Benny Hill sketch. Cutting edge reference there, Russie. Quick update on the audiology appointment by telephone. Couldn't hear. Could you read this? I can't get through it. Go on, Neil.
Well, the backstory is she had to have an audiology appointment by telephone, which we all thought was pretty funny.
That's such crap in my life.
So and now she's had it and couldn't hear or understand her, which is a fairly logical consequence, which is now she needs hearing aids. It'll
It's just ridiculous. I can't hear on my phone. I can't. What the hell? Oh, please tell me you're not gone silent.
No, I haven't. I was making a joke, silly.
Oh, for God's sake, I thought I got deaf. Well, my hearing is rubbish. I have to tell you that 20 years up in the flying eye, which was deafening, joking aside, I don't often talk about that, but it affected my hearing. It's taken off some of the levels, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, it was deafening up there. Right. So we wish you were. I have to tell you, Julie, I hope this will cheer you up. One of my best chums is Lloyd Beanie, whose birthday yesterday. Happy birthday to you, Lloyd. 250 years old, and he's still got all his own teeth. And Lloyd's brother is one of the top audiologists in the United Kingdom. He's highly respected. Two brothers, so dissimilar. One's Lloyd, an idiot like me, and the other is an eminent audiologist. How did that work out? Anyway, not the point. So he needed some hearing stuff. So he goes to his brother and he says, I'm not going to charge. And these things can be up to 10 grand. I had no idea, thank God, but they're up to 10,000. I don't know if you knew that, Longy. They're up to like 10 grand. They're very expensive, these things. Lloyd being Lloyd, we're having lunch one day. He says, you won't believe what I've done. I said, what have you done? I left the hearing things, and they're tiny and incredibly sophisticated now. I left them in the top pocket of my shirt, put the shirt in the washing machine. They're screwed. Oh, Christ. So he goes back. He said, well, I said, well, ask Rob for another pair. He goes back, asks his brother for another pair, right? He loses them.
Oh, no.
He loses them. He said, so I think we're having coffee or something. He says, I can't ask. I know he's my brother, but I can't ask him for a third pair on the house. I just can't. But these new systems are amazing. Well done through your
very clever. They kind of gently stimulate your cochlea, don't they?
Easy, fella. I have no idea what you just said. Do they?
Well, imagine so.
We can get that in Old Compton Street if you're lucky. Anyway, hello everybody. Now, you were saying. I do apologize.
My revelation.
Yeah, no, serious. Were you being serious about this? Because it sounded like a bit of a kind of anticlimax.
The point I want to make here, it's not anticlimactic.
Yeah.
It's more of a relief.
Really?
Yeah, because we read all these books, we associate mindfulness, present moment, right? So we associate it, or some people do. They think, oh, monks tie and dye, meditate for hours in a Tibetan monastery, complicated, difficult. And it's not. And literally, I just arrived at this golden chalice of the present moment last night, and I was like, oh,
But I
that's
don't
really
understand.
bleeding
All right,
obvious.
I got to dice and slice it.
It's so obvious.
Because we've talked about this a lot, and a lot of people, a lot of our listeners and viewers have come on and said, "Oh, mindfulness. Yes, we really want to. We'd like to know how to do it." We've had experts on, and they vary from between really good and I don't think so. Thank you very much. I think you're trying to flog a product here. And so, how did you know you'd reached? I mean, how did you know you'd reach this? That's my first question. How? But we were never to find out.
How did I do it?
No, how did you know you'd reached this particular state?
It was obvious to me.
In what way?
Experientially. The thing with
So
mindfulness,
what happened?
you can talk about it forever. But until you've experienced it, you haven't had the experience. I could talk about the taste of a strawberry forever, but until you've actually tasted said strawberry, then you will never have had the experience. So it's hard to put into words, but you know, and you know by its simplicity. It's so bloody simple. It's not.
So
talk.
were you doing your mantra or what were you
No,
doing?
not at all. I was just on a call with someone and she was just talking to me, probably using some clever language, some NLP, maybe a bit of hypnotic language. She may have been, I don't know. But suddenly I was just, oh,
What?
that's it. Oh, it's so simple. It's
Why-
almost
why? So let me ask you this. Let me ask you, why is
I think
Liz
we
Saul-
expect things to be difficult. We
Well,
expect
they
we're
are.
conditioned, you know,
Well, they
particularly
kind
with
of are
things like this.
difficult.
Oh, it takes years. It's going to be hard. It's going to be
Yeah.
complicated. You
Yeah.
have to make all kinds of sacrifices. No,
No.
you don't. You really don't.
So why has Liz Saul said this? Neil, you know it's been allowed all along.
Yeah, it's
What does
allowed.
that mean?
But just
What
because
is the
something's
subtext of
allowed,
that?
but just because something's allowed doesn't necessarily mean that I would experience it.
Hmm.
It's allowed for me to be rich, really rich, multimillionaire. I haven't experienced that
I'd
yet.
like you more. I'll be honest, I would like you more.
I
I'm not
will.
going to deny it.
But that's the thing. And yeah, it's an option that's available, and indeed, as Liz puts it, allowed in every present moment, which is all
So
there is.
has it changed you? So you had this, I'm going to call it revelation. All right. It's all a bit
Revelation's too strong a word.
All
It
right,
sounds
okay,
like the
so you
angels
had
sang
this
and the
what?
universe and the seas parted. It wasn't
all right.
like
Let's
that.
have a what's the word? What's the word we're going to do?
Just this very ordinary, everyday experience.
So what changed?
Nothing. That's the point.
See, this
I was
is the
just paying
thing.
attention.
I totally get your simile for saying if I described a strawberry to you, I could describe the color, but I can't describe the type. I mean, you know, it's easier just eat a strawberry, then you get the deal. Okay, I get that. But this is something kind of special. We've spent hours on Men's Radio talking about mindfulness, how it can help. So many people have come on and spoken about it, experts. There you are. You do it, but it's not seemed like it's great. Or am I misunderstanding? I mean, it doesn't seem like terribly exciting.
The reason, I think the reason for that, if people, we tend to overthink, or I do, everything. And you can't overthink mindfulness because it's not about the thinking part of your brain. It's about the being part. There's the thinking part of us, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then there's the being part. Okay, Graham, that's too strong a word. It wasn't an epiphany. It was almost an obviously. It's you know.
Okay. How long did this feeling last? Then I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a bit lost. I'm a bit out of my depth.
But the thing is, though, it's there right now. Where else would it be?
Oh, well, I have no idea. Aldi. I
The
don't know
reason
where
why
it is.
it helps people. is because when you're truly present, and all it means is paying attention to what's going on in your immediate surroundings or inside your own body and mind in a non-judgmental way. That's all. That's all it means. And when you notice you drifted off, just come back to paying attention to whatever you were paying attention to. That's the practice, and your mind will drift off
All
because
right,
that's
David.
what minds do.
So you said Graham Pack's epiphany was too strong. Let's try David Green's definition: mindset clarity. Is that
That's closer, but again, it was just very ordinary.
And David Green goes through to round one. Graham Pack, an excellent competitor, but sadly walking back to the dressing room now. David Green, who will he face?
Epiphany suggests that I heard the angels singing and the seas parted. It wasn't that way at all.
If that happens, you're probably dead, by the way. It's I'm going back to Sue, our guest, about resuscitation and things that you bury in your mind. And I've mentioned it before. I had forgotten for I don't know how many years until I was a proper adult and getting some help over something. I'd watched my dad drop of a heart attack. I'd completely forgotten it. I was a little boy. I was in the kitchen. He reached up to a cupboard and went down like a sack of potatoes.
Good God.
And I'd completely forgotten that memory. And I was getting some help many, many years ago, by the way. And suddenly the memory was as clear as it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And isn't it amazing what you blank out? I'd completely, utterly forgotten it. And then suddenly I could see, we had like a coal burner. We didn't have central heating, so it was like a coal, stove thing. And I could see the lino in the kitchen. I could visualize the cupboard, hear the ambulance coming. And it was a weird thing, I had no memory of it for probably 30 plus years.
It's a trigger, and there is quite a big school of thought that says the unconscious mind, ultimately its job is to protect you, and therefore it will not let you remember these things until you are able to handle them. And that's why people bury things, and things can come up at opportune, we hope, or sometimes seemingly inopportune moments. But what you're talking about is a trigger.
Yeah.
People
out of nowhere. I can't remember where it came from. I was
people
just
have
about something else.
PTSD.
Yeah.
They will trigger and get all the feelings back as if they're happening again in the present moment. But there are more advanced treatments for that now. I mean, you talked about that trigger, and I say this respectfully, quite dispassionately. It's like, I can say my mum and dad have passed on, and I'm not going to become a quivering mess. I can talk about it openly and rationally now.
Although you would be, let's just say one thing. You would be entitled to be. There'd be no shame in it.
None whatsoever.
If you went for the rest of your life, you got a problem. But if it suddenly swept over you and you thought...
And it does. We were talking about this with Barry on the episode on Monday. These triggers come out of nowhere, but what I love to say, they get less intense, less regular, and less long. And then we get to the point where I'm at now, and I can... Oh, you're not funny, Graham.
He's got a bloody good memory if you can remember that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I like this from Fat Scotty. I want this to feel like an epiphany, a huge wave of well-being. But the sound of things, and this was what I'm getting from it, Longy. It's almost a non-event or damp squib.
No.
Okay. I'm agreeing with Scott Lyons. That's kind of how I'm
okay. Well, sorry to disappoint, but there is a happy ending to this, because if you can be truly in the present moment, that's where all the good stuff is. That's where you can tune in to your intrinsic well-being. You want a wave of well-being? You can have one. You can have a whopping wave of well-being if you want to, but you can't do it in any other moment apart from the present. So getting to the present is just the first step. You want a wave of well-being? You can have one. But if we overcomplicate it by saying, I want it to be an epiphany, I want the angels to sing and the clouds to open, you're going to be looking for the bells and whistles. And when it just shows up in a very ordinary way, just because it's not wrapped in the packaging you expect it, you might miss it, which is the point. We've been doing it all our lives.
And now that gets way more interesting, because I think that can be extended to so much stuff. How many times on this show, for mental well-being, people have said, when I get my new Ferrari, that doesn't matter what the hell it is. When I get my new cooking range, when I get my new whatever it is, everything will be better. Well, it won't. Here's the big truth. It won't. You'll still be the same person, but you'll have a nicer car, or you'll have a bigger extension on your house, or you'll have a nicer holiday. You'll still be the same person. That's the problem.
But we've discussed this a lot. It's the other
I know,
way around.
but it's important.
It's not. No, and we keep on discussing it. It's not like get the success and then you'll be happy. It's get the happiness, which you find in the present moment, by the way. And science proves it. You are more likely to be successful if you're in a happy place. Metaphysically minded people would say you're putting out a positive vibration, therefore you're attracting more positivity back to you. You can believe that or not. It doesn't matter. If you believe that, great. Maybe that's been your experience.
I believe it completely true.
Okay, then you believe it, and that's great.
True.
But so surely that makes sense then. Okay, so if you believe that, then surely if you're saying I'll be happy when I get this, the message you're putting out in the present moment is I'm not happy because I haven't got this. Yet.
It's not that.
I'm happy now and anticipating it.
I have a lot of meetings.
Things.
Yeah, I get that. I have a lot of meetings, as you know, as we try to grow the radio stations.
You have tons of meetings.
I have loads of. I do. And sometimes I'm really up for it and totally tuned in. I'm not feeling 100% at the moment, doesn't matter, but totally tuned in. And, the people, it moves and it moves things along and you feel good. And sometimes I have meetings and I come away and go, well, you can't have done that on the phone. Even if it's someone I like a lot. It's not that it's just like, and I find my mind drifting, not because the meeting's boring, because I'm not quite there. And I've never really understood it. I'm not quite there. I'm not quite concentrating. I'm not feeling the vibe or whatever it is. And other times I'm absolutely, on it like a rocket. And that then generates better ideas and more fluidity, I suppose.
Exactly. So you can see a correlation between your state, how you feel, right, and the results. You see that correlation. Yeah. In other words, meetings or life, because you're always meeting something, if I'm going to be clever about it, go better when you're in a good state. So surely the thing to do is to work on managing our state and how we feel. And that's the most control we can possibly have. And it's all we need. We don't need any more than that. We were never meant to control everything.
No, well, if you
people spend their whole lives trying, and heads up, folks, it doesn't work.
You can't. Well, you know what I think the key to life is? Let's go for the big ones, shall we? Let's go for the big ones. I think
42.
I think that's the Panadol talking. The big one is that life is a random lottery. And I think that's the only way to stay sane. If you start looking for signs and portents and everything else, I think you'll go around the bend. And that is my technical
you can start to see it in everything, and it may not necessarily be there.
It's just random stuff.
But having said that, I want to challenge that a little bit, if you don't mind, because you're saying you've noticed the correlation between you feeling good and better things happening. That's not entirely random.
Well, you got to put it out. That
implies that you've got something to do with it, that you're part of the mix in some way, and that's not random. That comes down to choice, right?
Yeah. Although I'm not choosing not to be there. Does that make sense? I wonder if everyone's with me on that. Does it make sense? And I'm not choosing not to be there.
If you're saying there's a correlation between feeling good and good things happening around you and things unfolding more, that's not random.
But have you never had periods of time where everything, you suddenly think, what the heck? This is great. Bang, ba-bang, ba-bang. Everything's... life is a minestrone served up with Parmesan cheese. Well, death is a cold lasagna suspended in deep freeze. How can I remember that? I can't remember what I have for breakfast. Right, let's go to America. Neil.
Key to life is finding your peace, which is the essence of happiness. It's not giddiness or an overinflated state, but you can have those if you want to. But a peace of heart and mind. It feels nice. It's just a nice. It's just a nice, homely, comely kind of feeling. It's just nice.
Don't ever go to America and say the word homely, please. You will get slapped.
Okay. No, that's homey.
No, I made a terrible mistake. I didn't know. Deeply embarrassing. Homely in America means ugly. Homely in Britain
does that
means
right?
Laura Ashley. It means, homely in America specifically means ugly. That's
yeah, well, I was
only
smoking
word.
when I went to America, and I was talking about fag butts. That got me in all kinds of trouble.
But
Serious.
and then I go and spoil it all by right.
Boy,
I'm not going there. I like that. Chrissy Richards is saying it. Hello, boys. It's very hot here. I hate shopping. Stay safe. There's a whole world in that.
I heard something really good, by the way. I got a really good bit of wisdom the other day, and if we got time, I'll share it.
Of course, we got time. No, we got time. We got time.
So you said a moment ago that sometimes things are bang, 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 bang. You're on it. You could call that being in a flow.
Yeah,
everything has its opposite.
It's extraordinary when it happens. Yeah,
and there's an ebb and a flow to life, a night and a day, a yin and a yang. Okay, there can't be one without the other. Without one giving it context, the other couldn't exist, right? Okay, presumably. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, how to feel good during an ebb, particularly a financial one. Want to hear this one?
Yeah, you got me at financial ebb. Go on.
All right. So the trick is to accept that the ebb is just a time for resetting, which opens your pipe for the future to receive more.
Be nice. It would be nice to think that. It's kind of putting a nice gloss on not a great situation.
If thought experiment. If that's all it was, if it was that simple, and you just accept, oh yeah, it's like the sea, the tide will come back in, and while the tide's out, I can do other things, and it'll open my pipe a lot more for a much greater flow in the future. Wouldn't that make the ebb a lot easier to bear?
Oh yeah, that would be good. Mm-hmm. Is that one of your thoughts?
No, but I liked it.
But it's good. Let's read this out. This is from Scott Lyons. Key to life is contentment. 100%. Am I happy with my life? If I enhance it, will I be disappointed if I lose the enhancement? Not quite sure.
But enhancements can always be recreated. They're a matter of choice. And if you've got a baseline of happiness, then you wouldn't need. Here's the key. You wouldn't need, that's the word, need an enhancement because you're happy already. And in that happy already, as the science have proved, you're likely to enhance anyway because of your state and how you feel. Full circle.
Can I just say, by the way,
I really shouldn't smoke this stuff, man.
I don't know what the hell it is. But if it works for you, I have no problem with that, as long as you're not driving, especially a train.
No, it was a joke. It was a joke.
No, I know it's a joke. No, it's a joke. Scotty absolutely says Asa Don Brown. I think the key to life is just being content. That does not mean. Let's dig a little deeper. That does not mean being lazy. That doesn't mean wanting to improve things or move things along. Because I think for me, stagnation is like death. I cannot be stagnant. I'm always striving for something.
You need both sides of the equation.
You do.
I'll put it on the screen.
You're happy and hungry. I'm always hungry and I'm sometimes happy. I'm sometimes happy.
Stagnation,
it's not my natural state, but
stagnation is basically not having any appetite for life. Stuck. Yeah. Hungry is that desire for more. And we need that because it keeps us moving forward. However, isn't it great to move forward from a place where you're happy already?
I like that. I like that. Martin Allen.
I'll put it in another way.
Keep it simple always helps keeping moving forward. That is right. And I agree with Fat Scotty. No one's opening up my pipe, not without buying me dinner first. For that. Happy now and eager for more. Oh, totally. I know. I really am.
And put into words, that'll be along the lines of, wow, I'm really happy where I am with who I am and what I have. And I can't wait for more of this.
But let's be clear. Because I think we live, that's the West.
I'm really unhappy with who I am and what I have. And I can't be happy until I get more.
Until I get so-and-so. No. They're just crutches. Those are little things. It's like a drug addict, and the problem with it is, like a drug addict, is the first time you try something. I'm not going to name the drugs. We're all grown up. You know what I mean. The first time you take a heavy duty drug, everything happens to you, apparently. I don't do drugs. I'm not from a moral standpoint. I've never done drugs. It's just me. I don't. And I'm not judging those who do. It's none of my business. But the next time you do it, you won't have the same effect. The drug will not have the same effect. We've talked about this before, certainly with experts who've come on talked about addiction. And you will require more and more to get the same feeling. And that is like, I'm going on holiday. I only went to Spain. If I'd have gone, it wasn't good enough. If I go to Barbados, it's going to be better. I've got an Audi. That's not good. I better get the new BMW because that's going to make. Now, these things, they last for a moment. It doesn't make you content.
I think the psychologists would call that.
I got no issue with it.
No. Psychologists would call that hedonic treadmill, if you like.
Oh, I like that hedonic treadmill. Grandpack says it's the law of diminishing marginal returns. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
I recently, if we got time, because
we've got 20 minutes. We're fine. We're absolutely fine. Go on.
A great idea. To equate this to my life, if I lost my job in radio, as I've done frequently, I think we've all done that, Scott. It's part of this game. Would I be unhappy or would I just miss it? I'd miss it, but it wouldn't define my happiness, because what you're saying with that is that your radio job doesn't define you. Your baseline of happiness defines you, and you're a happy man that does radio or a happy man that doesn't do radio. But you're much more likely to get another job in radio.
How many people define themselves by their job? Or what they do.
And that's the problem.
It's a terrible trap.
Yes.
It's a terrible trap.
It really is. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my job. I love DJing. I love doing this. I love doing stand-up. But it doesn't define me. It doesn't put me in a box necessarily.
No. It's just what it is. And if you only live, here's the real danger in the entertainment world, especially comedians and those if you live for the applause, you are on a one-way trip to nowhere. I'll tell you that right now. It's
interesting. When I come off stage, after doing my stand-up, which you saw,
yeah, I did.
I'm buzzing for about 10 or 15 minutes, and I love it, and I love the buzz of it, and I appreciate the applause, and people will say, hopefully you did well, that was funny, and I go, thank you. But I don't kind of need that day in, day out to feed this hollow ego, if you know what I mean. I enjoy it, and nothing wrong with that, but I don't need it, if that makes sense.
You see, I'm slightly different. I don't buzz from it. I tell you what it was. There were two things which kind of really shaped how I deal with this. When I was doing, I hate to go back to it, but forgive me for a minute, doing the Flying Eye. And in my headset are 4 million listeners. And it's exciting and it's thrilling. And the show's the number one show practically in the world. It's huge. And we've just given away £100,000 prize and some shit like that. All right. And then the plane would land and I'd switch off the transmitter. And I'd get out the plane, the pilot would stay with the plane, and I would walk on my own, carrying this silly old box of a transmitter across usually a rain-swept tarmac, all on my own. And for a while, I found that really, really hard to deal with, because you'd gone from all this excitement and everything was fabulous, and suddenly you're just on your own, alone, in total silence, walking across a deserted tarmac. And that started to affect me. And I thought, I'm not happy with this. I don't like that feeling. It was like falling off a cliff. And I thought, I got to do something about this. And I just changed my mindset. And it's just a job. Just a job. And I've always treated everything I do, as much as I love it, it's just a job.
It's not you.
Same as Charlie Watts drumming for the Rolling Stones. It's a job. It's lovely. It comes with lots of nice things. It's a job. And then the next thing I noticed when I started to do pantomime, again, it was this drop. So you're doing 2 shows a day. It's like a 1,500 or 2,000 seater. Every show was sold out. They were, big. I was working alongside fabulous people, great stars. It's all beautiful, looks spectacular, it looks marvelous.
Fantastic, yeah, I'd love to do
and
that.
Then you take, everyone's standing ovation. And the next thing that happens is the curtain comes down. and the normal house lights backstage come on, and you look around and you see the glittery costumes are a bit tatty close up. There's paint marks on the floor, and it's lino, and all the glamour and the glitz and the fabulous walk down and spectacle. It's all an illusion. And that used to affect. And then I thought, no, it's Rusty. It's a job. It's what it just
and
treat
if you
it as a
recognise
job.
it's an illusion, and your happiness is something you control and is real to you, then what a delicious illusion it can be.
And that's the thing. It's nice. And don't get me wrong, it was nice, but I didn't. Other people are coming off. Did I do well? Did I? It's a job. Enjoy it, but get your head around.
Love the heck out of it.
No, you can love it.
Give it everything.
Absolutely.
Give it all you got. All I'm saying is,
that is part of your job. That is part of your job.
It doesn't,
because no one, as Russ Abbott said to me, no one's seen this show before. You've seen it 80 times so far. Obviously, we did a run of nearly 90 shows back to back. You've seen it a million times. You know where the jokes are. But no one else in the audience has. For them, it's the first time. So therefore, as your job, it's on your shoulders. It's your responsibility.
Do it as if it's the first time every time.
But that's it. So when I'm doing stand up, and when I did stand up, the moment I finished. I become the real me. That's it. Boom.
I'd love to see your stand. I want to see your stand.
You might. But the point about it.
Come on, I've shown you mine. You got to show me yours.
Yay! Wah. The point about it is, the notion of let's go to the bar and slap each other's backs. I hate that. I usually disappear.
Oh no, I'll do a bit of that. I like to network and chat afterwards.
I can't take it at all.
No, I like it.
I mean, I feel very uncomfortable with it. I can't.
It's the closest I get to being a media diva, and I quite like that. Yeah, a bit of backslapping.
I can't take compliments. There, I've shared that with you. I get this all the time, by the way. They're not going to sell much ice cream at that speed. Liz, all I want to see you do stand up. Well, there might be something coming down the pike. When's your book coming out? It will not be out till 24-25. At this, it really won't. A Grand Pack. I am not reading that. I am not reading that out. Grand Pack. That's rude.
Would anyone be interested in knowing the science behind why you can't replicate the second hit with drugs or performance or anything?
Thank you, Dave Sleet. Sorry, Dave Sleet. Thank you. Modesty forbids me for putting that up on, but thank you very much. I would like to know the science. The point I'm making, the point I was making, we've still got time. The point I was making is we all have a choice. We have a choice. And if you you had a beautiful phrase, living your life. Oh, help me out, man. Inside out, was it outside in? What was the phrase you do? That phrase about living your life inside out. In other words, if you have a choice, if you live for the approval of others, that's the only thing that makes it work for you. You're on a hiding to nothing. If you live,
particularly in this social media age when people
troll
in the cruelest
way.
I mean,
we are living in crazy times, and it's going to get worse, and then something will happen. I mean, this is just madness. This is absolute madness. What's going on at the moment? I mean, they might as well just get rid of courts. They might as well just get rid of courts and the law. I mean, just
I never liked it as a furniture store anyway.
No, court you can. Oh God, I hated that advert, but it obviously worked because I can still remember it 50,000 years later. All right, tell us the
right. So it could be a performance high. It could be a high from a drug or alcohol. It could be it's because it stimulates dopamine and the bliss chemicals, okay, and the reward center in the brain. It could be work. It could be watching porn. All of these things stimulate the dopamine center. But the reason why the second time is never as good is through a process called downregulation. Imagine you've got millions of neurotransmitters, okay, and the neurotransmitter, the dopamine, transmits the message, bang, 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 bang. And if you take a drug or do something dopamine stimulating, the levels shoot right up for a moment. And that's why people feel so good. That's why you feel good. That's why people do it. Stimulates the dopamine. Yeah. However, the receptors for it, the brain goes, oh, that's a bit intense. We need to shut some down or it'll be too much. So let's say there was 100 here to receive the 100 here. All right,
Yeah.
100
Yeah.
comes over, receives 100. Perfect.
Okay.
But then it shuts down a bit because it's too many. So next time 100 comes over, but there's only 50. And next time, if it
There's
shuts
only
down
50
more,
available to receive it. I'll put it in
to
simple
receive.
terms.
If it shuts
Okay.
down more, next time there's only 25. And next time there's only 10. So people make the mistake, oh, I'll do more of this. I'll take more drugs.
Yeah.
So 200 comes over.
upping it.
And now there's
You're
only
upping
5 to receive it. And that's what happens. Now, the good news is, just to leave it on a happy ending, if you abstain from what you're doing to stimulate that dopamine for a while, the neurotransmitters do grow back. In most cases, they do. So, not a problem.
I'm going to
But that's
admit
why.
something.
That's why
I'm
you
going
can
to
never
admit
recommend
something,
it.
which is about mental health and about how we look at each other. Right? I suddenly got the urge to go back and do the stand-up thing again. I'm just playing with it, right, in my head.
I was waiting for you to announce that on air.
I haven't.
No.
There's nothing to announce yet. There's really nothing to announce. It was something that I've just been thinking
do
about
it
for a while. Yeah. I've been thinking about it for a while, and then I went to see you, and we have very different styles, totally different routines, totally different format. Everything is completely different.
Chalk and cheese, I would
And
imagine.
then I was driving away, and I was thinking, oh, can I be as good as that?
Oh, don't be
And
stupid.
then no. Now I know this is mental health for you. I'm being really, really open here, because otherwise, why have a mental health radio station if you can't be honest? You know, I've done the show. I took it up to the Edinburgh Fringe. I've taken it over to Los Angeles. I think I've done 6 shows in LA. Filled the theater there several times. Done it in the West End. Played at the Crazy Cogs at German Street Theatre. Played it in Hammersmith, and so I know it works. I know it's okay. So the rational part of me is saying, well, you know you can do this. You know that you've seen the reviews, you've seen the audience reaction. Yet I go to see you and I go, oh, I wonder if I could get. Could I be that good again?
Now,
and it's whether it was you or whether it was Danny
Isn't that
Postill or whoever it
interesting?
was.
Because this is a bit of that inner critic, that imposter syndrome. Because before I joined you on MRS, I would see these flyers for Caned Laughter. That was it, wasn't it?
It was Caned Laughter, yeah.
Caned Laughter with a K,
pun.
of course, playing in LA, okay, playing the West End. And I would think to myself, I could never be as good as that, because that's Russ Kane.
Man.
And I'm only Neil Long. And now you're thinking the other way around. And it's not just
we're
us.
human beings. We're just human.
Look, you think that's bad? The bloody Beatles. The Beatles nearly split up because George Harrison thought he could never be as good as Paul McCartney, and Paul McCartney thought he could never be as good as George Harrison, and John Lennon thought he could never be as good as Ringo Starr, and they were all thinking the same about each other. It's unbelievably crazy. Why can't everyone just be great?
Well, because we're not all great. You know, sometimes you go and see things.
Oh, but we are. You and me old showbiz pot picker. You and me.
Not off, all right. Not off. Yeah, it's David Green. David Green says, being the best version of your true self, maybe a cliche, but there's a lot of weight behind it to support it. Absolutely right. You know what? This brings us to what everybody, I know this timestamps it a little bit. This hoo-ha, no names, please. I do not want us dragged into any legal crap.
Oh, this.
But this huge hoo-ha about an alleged BBC very high-profile person. And here's the point of David Green, being the best version of your true self. If these things are true, it doesn't even matter if it's not, whatever. It's like, wow, you've got everything. If it's this person, if any of it's even true, who the hell knows? But if it's that person, admired, respected, very senior, very authoritative, and you think, well, you've got everything. You've got everything that you could possibly want
on paper.
Boom. What the hell's going on? I'm talking from I'm not getting on the soapbox about all this and the BBC.
No. You're just talking
that's
from
for
a
another
general
day.
point of view.
I'm just fascinated when people, you think they got everything, you know, they're at the top of their game, the top of a very difficult game very difficult totem pole to climb. Really is. Competition is ginormous. And yet, there's a side of you which is completely effed up. I mean, just what the hell? And that, we'll never understand that because people are just people. That's
Could you
it.
put that comment back up, which sparked that your response?
Let me find it.
Please.
Let me find it.
So I've got some.
Here we go. It's David Green, who says a lot of wise things.
Okay. I like the phrase true self. The word that
Yeah.
came to me as you said that is authentic. And the reason why, if you love your authentic self,
Hmm.
basically it's self-love. You're loving the person that matters most to you. You. And that's self-love. And there's nothing narcissistic about that, because unless you accept yourself completely as you are, then you'll always be trying to hide bits of yourself. You might have an amazing career, but if there's wounded bits that you're hiding away and they're sort of not healed, that's going to be like an albatross around your neck until it's
the great Dave
until it's
Sleet
cleared.
of ANA, who's been so supportive to Men's Radio Station and to WRS as well. Perception is a powerful anchor.
What do you mean by that, Dave?
Learning to use that anchor to your advantage is a skill.
I know what you mean by anchor. You mean a touchstone of well-being. Anchor is an NLP term. I know exactly what it means in that context. But cheers, Fat Scotty. All the best, fella.
Thank you, Scott Lyons.
What do you mean by perception, though? Because the thing is, what I'm making a case for here is you can choose your perceptions.
Yeah. I guess. Can you?
If the world is made up of however many million people's individual perceptions,
yeah,
then that's what it's made up of. And then who is choosing those perceptions for us? No one. There's no outside force doing it to us. We are choosing those perceptions. So if that's true, you might as well choose what perceptions you want.
If you live a lie, it eats you up. And
True.
I think this is what happens to so many people who are in the public eye, which thank God I'm not. It's nothing I've ever craved. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Graham, I don't want to, I'm not going to put that on. Graham Pack, you're absolutely correct. But then his reply was, it's nobody else's business. I'm perfectly able to do my job. My private life is my private life. And there is a lot to that.
Oh, hugely.
But here's the thing in 4 minutes. Do we have the right to feel let down by somebody else's private life? Does it affect us?
Well,
No.
I think
Is
if
it any
does
of our
affect us,
business? No.
well, what does that? Well, yeah, but if that affects us, if I care so much about the private life of someone else, I'm not really paying attention and loving myself, am I? What does that have to do with me? What other people do, as long as society isn't harmed and no laws were broken?
Well,
then,
if the laws are broken, that's a different.
well, that's
we
different.
can't talk about this. It's all sub judice. But if, as is being alleged, certain laws have been broken in terms of age, then that's a different issue. But that's a matter for the law. That's a matter for the law.
But I think the point you're raising is, why are we so obsessed with other people's lives and this sort of shock, horror, and tittle tattle?
But do we?
I
Well, that's
I don't get it. Why not? Why not, as Dave says, use the tool of perception that we've got? The mind is an amazing tool. It's a great servant, terrible master. Yeah. But why not choose your perceptions to live your best life, live the most amazing life you want to live? I got to a really heavy conversation last night. We were talking about people dying and loss. Okay, I was talking to a close friend about this last night. And I said, but at the end of the day, and I said, if I could wave a magic wand and take your pain away, my dear friend, I would. However, it's true also, it's equally true that we have our own lives to live. So why would we want to live our lives, sloughing around in the tittle-tattle of the gutter press? I don't understand it.
People like it. And bear one thing in mind, which is so important. I have gone public on this on social media, on my Facebook page, is when these stories burst, look at what the big stories are being not shown.
No, I saw that on Facebook. So you're saying it's basically a diversionary tactic because there's something someone wants to hide. And I thought that was a little cynical, I must admit.
Really? So all the news is taken up with this alleged BBC presenter. Meanwhile, no one has seen the WhatsApp messages from our former Prime Minister when this country was sold down the river with lockdowns. No one's seen that. Amazing, isn't it? Because everyone's fascinated with who this bloke or whatever, but apparently it's a he, is done. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It was the same thing as that dreadful, some time ago, Titanic submarine disaster. The US Navy knew that those occupants had perished on the Sunday. They dragged the story out, not the Navy, the media dragged the story out until the Thursday. There was a revolting phrase.
I think is what's called the news agenda, isn't it? And
it's the news agenda. And there was a repulsive phrase put out by a Labour person many years ago: a good day to bury bad news. There was a horrendous incident which took over the media, understandably, and they managed to lose. But that phrase has stuck in my mind.
That's up there with if it bleeds, it leads, isn't it?
And a good day to bury bad news. Always remember when you're looking at the story, what's the story that's behind it. That's all we've got time for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've really find it fascinating, and Neil always is so stimulating. Thanks, everybody. Take care. We'll be back on Friday with a full hour of... Yes, see you Monday. A full hour of Chantel Records. Bye, gang.